Hello and welcome to The World This Week with me, Jonathan Steele. It's been less than a month since Nawaz Sharif once again became Prime Minister in Pakistan, and he's already causing a stir. He's accusing former President Pervez Musharraf of treason for actions he carried out back in 2007. More on that in a moment. And later we will be looking at a controversial Supreme Court decision in the United States, altering one of the country's most famous pieces of civil rights legislation. But first to Pakistan. Musharraf served as president of the country for 7 years until he fell dramatically from power in 2008, shortly after declaring a state of emergency. Should he now face trial for this? It would be the first time a military leader has been prosecuted for violating the constitution in Pakistan. His supporters have rallied against the Prime Minister's accusations. Emily Churchill has more.
10 years ago, it would have been unthinkable. But former military leader of Pakistan, Pervez Musharraf, looks set to face trial for treason after an announcement by the new Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif on Monday.
He not only prevented high-ranking judges from executing their duties on November the 3rd, but he also put them under house arrest with their families. Musharraf will have to answer for his guilt. Now, the matter is before the country's highest court.
2 days later, the Prime Minister was ordering officials to begin an investigation into the treason claims. But the Supreme Court says the hearing will not begin until a consultation on setting up a special court to hear the case is completed. Sharif became Prime Minister following elections in May, but he and Musharraf have a long history. The ex-army strongman came to power after ousting Sharif in a coup in '99. The accusations of treason date back to 2007, when Musharraf declared a state of emergency and suspended the constitution. If found guilty, he could face the death penalty. The former leader had wanted to compete alongside Sharif in the recent elections, but on his return to Pakistan after 4 years of self-imposed exile, he was disqualified from standing and placed under house arrest. He faces charges of detaining senior judges and of failing to provide enough security to prevent the assassination of former Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto in 2007. Accusations he denies. A spokesman for the retired general called the new allegations of treason unwarranted and accused Sharif's government of attempting to create a distraction from the country's real problems. And on Monday, his lawyer appeared relaxed about the possible trial.
God willing, he will go through the legal procedures and come out of this case unscathed. It is not going to take long. It will be a matter of weeks.
Whether or not he's right, the treason trial would be an unprecedented step in a country where military leaders are rarely held accountable for their actions. Some are worried the move will anger Pakistan's powerful army. Others optimistic that the balance of power may finally be shifting away from the military and in favour of the elected government. Emily Churchill, Islam Channel.
So could this signal a change in the balance of power between the military and the civilian leaders in Pakistan? Or is it just revenge politics on Sharif's part for the fact that Musharraf ousted him in 1999? Well, joining me to discuss this in the studio are Usman Sheikh, who's the UK Information Secretary for Musharraf's party, the All Pakistan Muslim League, and Hamad Ali, a freelance journalist who's written on Pakistani affairs for The Guardian and The Independent. And on the phone, we have Chaudhry Ansar Mahmood, president of Nawaz Sharif's party in Britain, the UK legal wing of the party, the Pakistan Muslim League, Nawaz. Welcome to you all. Chaudhry, can I begin with you? Can you hear us? You're on the phone.
Yes.
Okay. Well, as we said, I said in the introduction, isn't this really just revenge politics, rather petty, by Nawaz Sharif?
Sorry, can you say it again, please?
I'm just asking you whether Nawaz Sharif's action in calling for this prosecution is simply revenge for 1999 and 2007.
No, I don't think so. That is the clear that revenge. But you know, the Article 6 is, if you see the Pakistan history, is there will be since 1956 in the Constitution of 1956, and then it was in the carry on into 1973 that if anybody will do this sort of act, and he should be persecuted under the Article 6 law. So that is not the personal revenge. That is for the betterment and for the on the demand of the Pakistani public. and for the nation. So in future, any dictator should not do the same act which he has done with the Pakistani nation. So that is not the revenge. That is and you can see that in the parliament when Mr. Nawaz Sharif has started his speech, and the other two parties of the opposition, they endorsed this speech that they will support in this act. So if that is the personal revenge of Muhammad Nawaz Sharif, then why the other parties support in this act?
Well, let me come on to you, Usman Sheikh, here in London. You represent Pervez Musharraf's party. Yes. Didn't the general or the former president, make a terrible mistake in going back home to Pakistan without getting guarantees that he wouldn't be arrested, or indeed that he would be allowed to run as a candidate rather than being disqualified?
Well, look, his conscience is completely clear. He believes that he is innocent and all of the charges against him are bogus. So he wants to, he is only requesting a fair trial, so that he can be proven innocent. Now, the problem at the moment is that Nawaz Sharif is definitely extracting his petty revenge as he did before. Because when you're talking about Article 6, Article 6 is not specific to any individual, and Article 6 clearly states that everyone who has taken part in that joint enterprise, be it directly or indirectly, they are all to be tried. You cannot be selective. You can't pick and choose, because when you pick and choose, then there is no transparency. And if you have a look at the High Treason Act. The High Treason Act says that that Article 6 is applicable from 1958 and onward. So this means not only the Musharraf era, but we're also talking about the era of Zia-ul-Haq and the eras prior to that. When it comes to the era of Zia-ul-Haq, the worst dictator in Pakistan's history, his most dearest supporter is currently the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Nawaz Sharif. Nawaz Sharif was Zia's finance minister. So if you are to open up, if you are to try Musharraf under Article 6, then firstly you cannot simply try one individual. You have to try each and every individual who was involved in that joint enterprise. And not only that, you can't restrict it to something which is comparatively very minor, namely the 2007 temporary emergency. You have to take into account the 1999 rightful counter-coup.
No, but you do have to start somewhere and with somebody. So isn't it a good thing, a first step, put the general on trial, or the former president, and then see what result comes, and then try the other people afterwards?
If you are to do this, then it would be more fair, I would argue, to first put Nawaz Sharif under trial, because when Nawaz Sharif was supporting a dictator, Musharraf was nowhere in the scene. Musharraf came much later after Nawaz Sharif. So Nawaz Sharif has a history of supporting dictatorship in Pakistan, and in fact he was part of the setup of the dictatorship in the 1980s. So if you are to be fair, then begin with him. And only then you can think about Pervez Musharraf. And secondly, they are also violating the Pakistani constitution at the moment, because if you have a look at Article 6, its 2007 version did not include the term abeyance. They are saying that Musharraf is to be tried because he held the constitution in abeyance. But this term was inserted in the constitution in 2010. So 3 years after the event. Now you can't project
let's not
that
get
backwards.
too much into the technicalities, because the lawyers will raise all these points in the trial. Let me ask you, Hamad Ali, as a sort of independent person, you're not a member of either of the two parties, of the two protagonists in this dispute. Do you think this really is a big step forward and will reduce the power of the military? Because after all, as we were hearing, Zia-ul-Haq and all these other people, Pervez Musharraf is the fourth, if not the fifth, military general to take over power in Pakistan. I mean, is this now balance changing?
I think you're right. I think I'm cautiously optimistic of Musharraf being tried for treason. The reason being that Pakistan has a long history of military interventions, and there's a need that, if Musharraf is put on trial for treason, whatever the outcome, it will act as a kind of deterrence, at least for the future, for the military.
But even if he's found innocent, you think it'll still be a deterrent?
It depends, really. I mean, it's highly unlikely that he would come out completely, innocent at all, because he has got a long, list of people just waiting to have a go at him. It's not just this constitution. There's also the case, this emergency that he when suspended the constitution in 2007. It was also the case of missing people, hundreds and thousands of people who have gone missing under Musharraf. So there are people who are upset about that. There are people upset in the province of Balochistan, where the nationalist leader Nawab Akbar Bukti was killed during Musharraf's period, and then there we have the Benazir murder. So you have got all of these different list of grievances against the former dictator. It's quite highly unlikely that he would come out completely innocent.
Let me go back to Chaudhry Ansar Mahmood. Are you still there on the telephone?
Yep.
Yes, okay. The point that Usman Sheikh made, that why don't you start with 1999? Surely to take over power is much more serious than declaring a state of emergency when you're already in power. So why not start with 1999?
Yeah, if you start both the act has been done by President Musharraf in '99, the coup when the democratic government was toppled by him, and that was a very serious act has been done by him. And the second is also in 3rd November 2007 to arrest all the judges and to put the emergency on the country. So these two both acts are very serious act in history of Pakistan. So if we see these two acts, I think Nawaz Sharif has taken the right step at the outset of his government, and that the Article 6 trial should be the Pervez Musharraf has been faced to all these the criminalities which has been done in the past, and that was the requirement and of the nation of Pakistan, which is supported by all the parties who are even in the allies.
All right, thank you. Usman Sheikh wants to come back to you on that point. Just a second.
Firstly, judges were not arrested in 2007, and the higher court has already stated just a few days ago that they have not come across a single piece of evidence which was suggests that Musharraf ordered personally the arrest of any judges, and hence they have given him the bail. That's the first point. The second point is that the real reason why they are not even talking about the 1999 counter coup, that is the actual Big Bang. Why they're not talking about that, the reason is because the judges were completely involved in that, and the judges had legitimized that action. The current Chief Justice of Pakistan, Iftikhar Chaudhry, had legitimized that action and had given Pervez Musharraf the right to make amends to the constitution. So if they are to talk about what transpired back in 1999, then it's, again, not only Musharraf. You have to, at the same time, Iftikhar Chaudhry has to resign. You have to try him. You have to try all the judges, and you have to try the parliament back then, because the entire parliament, which means the bulk of the politicians in Pakistan, supported Musharraf's rightful takeover in 1999. Once again, you are violating the constitution of Pakistan when you isolate one individual. That can't be done, either all or none.
Why was it rightful? You say the military coup in 1999 was rightful?
Yes, I say that was rightful because the Supreme Court itself legitimized that. They used the argument of necessity, saying that the country was coming to a standstill, it was in a bad situation, and Nawaz Sharif was fighting with basically everyone.
Yeah, but if people have already been arrested as a result of the coup, people are intimidated. How can the Supreme Court be taking a decision freely when there have already been arrests of people?
No, the Supreme
Surely
Court,
that is the argument they will make. The man who took the coup is the man in charge.
No.
And whether it was legitimized, quotes unquotes, later because people were intimidated is a separate matter.
No, first you have to realize that Musharraf did not pre-plan the coup. He was on the plane. When he landed, then he was informed that, we have taken the coup and now you are in charge. So he simply, found himself in that situation. But secondly, Iftikhar Chaudhry, up until early 2007, had very, very cozy relationship with Pervez Musharraf. So it was not the case of, them being under threat. It's only in around March 2007 that the relationship altered, because charges of serious corruptions were leveled against Iftikhar Chaudhry. So now they are taking that personal revenge, and we know that they are taking they are trying to extract their petty revenge from Mr. Musharraf, because just a few months ago, when Mr. Musharraf entered Pakistan, Iftikhar Chaudhry challenged people to bring cases against Pervez Musharraf. Why is the Chief Justice doing that? He has no right to do that.
Let me come back to Hamad Ali.
Yeah.
Musharraf was elected just now, a month ago, with a large majority. So Nawaz Sharif, I mean. So what are the people saying, ordinary people in the media and so on? Are they supporting this action against former President Pervez Musharraf, or are they against him, taking the side of Usman Sheikh?
I think in the media, in Pakistani media generally, there is not much sympathy for Musharraf at the moment. Although Nawaz Sharif and Musharraf go back a long way, if you look at their history, Nawaz Sharif selected Musharraf.
I'm trying to get public opinion's view on this. Are they glad that Nawaz Sharif is now putting Musharraf on trial, or are they against it?
I think there's two feelings. One is that this is a great thing, because it's like we said earlier, it's never been happening in the history of Pakistan before that a former military head is now being tried for treason. But on the other hand, people are also wary, because the country has other, big problems with security, with weekly terrorist bombings happening. You have a big energy crisis. You have drone strikes happening. You have the economy, which is in a very bad situation. So people are just worried that if this trial of Musharraf doesn't become a kind of distraction away from these issues, which a new government, people have a lot of hopes from Nawaz Sharif, and there is worry that it could.
Do you think, is there a danger that if Usman Sheikh's kind of argument, which is the one that Musharraf puts forward, that everybody has to be there, all the sort of military.
This argument is also being made by opponents of Musharraf currently.
All right, but my question really is: do you think that this is, in a way, a provoking move to try and get the military to have yet another coup to get rid of Nawaz Sharif and stop this, charges against a former military leader?
I think the military is quite cautious and wary at the moment. They're not in the mood to intervene because, firstly, the world is watching, and they're very busy just fighting, on the front with Afghanistan, all these militants. So they're not really in the mood right now to intervene in the politics. But if Musharraf, this trial, as it goes on, it can become an embarrassment, and could be seen, if he's seen to be being humiliated in front of, then there is a certain, the military will be, their senior figures within the military are going to be upset. But at the same time...
But you don't think they would go as far as actually running another coup?
Not right now.
Well, let's ask Chaudhry that point. Isn't there a risk that Nawaz Sharif, by putting this prosecution forward and supporting it and so on, he might provoke yet another military coup? Isn't there that danger?
No, I don't think so. At this stage, military or any other Pakistani agency are in this position to have any other military coups, because the people of Pakistan now, they want real change and democracy and the full empowerment of the people of the Pakistan in that country, and they can't afford any more for the military dictatorship or any other coup, because in last 13 years the country has faced so much loss due to these coups and military activists. So I don't think so that in near future the military or any other agencies to support this act, or they are minded to do this act, and they want to support fully the democracy in Pakistan. And because the Nawaz Sharif has got very good mandate at this stage in the current elections, and I think so they will fully support him to run the government properly and to address the other issues like energy crisis, terrorism, and these drone attacks and the financial. So I don't think so in this current situation they are in the position to make any interference to run the government.
And are you confident that the trial will actually happen? I mean, will the judges, the Supreme Court, will actually set up the court to deal with this, or will it all get bogged down and then no trial actually take place?
We are very much confident that this trial will go ahead, and the judges they will make the right judgment and against Mr. Musharraf regarding the Article 6.
Well, Usman Sheikh.
Yes, just 2 points which I would like to make. Firstly, if the Constitution is to be tossed in the bin, then the trial can definitely go ahead. But if you are to adhere to the Constitution and its requirement, then there is no getting out of this. Either you try all, or you try none. You can't restrict it only to 2007 and leave all the, the big incidents out. You have to take into account all the incidents. But there is a way out of this as well. The way out is that you forget the past and you set up a new cutoff date. Let's say, for example, 2010 and onwards. Any coups then we will deal with that and we will try everyone, because the past is so messy. Because as I mentioned, it's not only Musharraf. You're talking about Zia al-Haq, and all of his supporters are still alive.
What about, I mean, it's not Nawaz Sharif who decides whether there's a trial. It's the Supreme Court, isn't it?
No.
So are you
that is actually wrong. It is Nawaz Sharif who decides, because the Supreme Court cannot demand, cannot even request the Prime Minister, the federal government, to initiate a trial. But they are being activists, and for many months they have been pushing them and arguing that, try the case, bring Musharraf in front of us, and that is also a violation of the Constitution.
So you're saying the Supreme Court judges are not independent?
They are not independent. They are activists. They are activists to the extreme. The Constitution does not give the judges the right to request, to demand in any way whatsoever to the federal government that they should initiate a case against any individual. They can't even determine a punishment for that. That's the job of the Parliament. It's the federal government which makes a request in writing stating why they feel they can.
Okay, but then if you think the Supreme Court judges are activists and not independent, then obviously Pervez Musharraf is going to be found guilty.
Absolutely, because I feel that we are currently witnessing the beginning of a kangaroo trial. There have been mini kangaroo trials already, and the large mini kangaroo trial is now taking place, and we will, I fear, a judicial madness is a very, very real possibility.
Let me put that point to you, Hamad Ali. Supreme Court judges running a kangaroo court, they're not independent, they're all against
They've openly spoken against Musharraf already. Just a few days ago,
let me get
I think that's the arguments that is being put forward by the Musharraf side.
What's your view?
By his opponents as well, not just Musharraf's side.
I feel that at the moment there is a feeling that the media and the judiciary, they are more independent than they were in the past. Even this trying of Musharraf for treason, this is not something that came up in Nawaz Sharif's head. This was, he didn't have an option.
It did came up in his head.
It was not. He was given this. He was just asked, like, do you?
And he could have said
should
no,
he be tried for treason or not? But this was the Supreme Court which was asking him. It wasn't Nawaz Sharif himself coming up with, how we should treat Musharraf.
The fact that
Nawaz Sharif did not appoint the Supreme Court judges, did he?
No, of course not.
No.
Who appointed them? Which government?
They were there even before Musharraf. I mean,
well,
if the
then how can you say
that
they're just on the side of Nawaz Sharif?
I can say this because they have been consistently since 2007 avoiding hearing any cases of Nawaz Sharif or actually going after them, even though there are very, very big cases pertaining to Nawaz Sharif for many years sitting in the Supreme Court. And secondly, members of Nawaz Sharif's party have had since 2007 a very close relationship with these judges, and these judges have even openly on numerous occasions spoken in favor of Nawaz Sharif.
We're coming to the end. I'm sorry to cut you off. I mean, these are very, very heated arguments, and they're going to be played out presumably in the court, and we'll be following them very closely. So thank you very much indeed, Usman Sheikh, Hamad Ali and Chaudhry Ansar Mahmood on the telephone for joining us. And thank you for watching, and stay with us for the second half of the program when we're talking about the civil rights issues in the United States and the latest Supreme Court decision.